Hey, everybody, welcome back to Make Today Count. I'm going to jump in today and talk about something I've been thinking about for a while. The word is perspective. We've all heard this said before that if you want to change your life, you change your perspective. But what does that mean? How do you change your perspective? So we're going to go deep into a story that a lot of you are going to be familiar with, and we're going to break that down into three different perspectives. But before we do that, and before I address a question that Manny had, I want you to think about this. How can we take two people? We have the same time, the same circumstances, same day, same time, same circumstances, same environment, and both people see the circumstances differently. One sees the circumstance from a perspective of opportunity. They see it from a position of abundance, where the other one sees it from a position of scarcity, and they see closed doors. Same world, same circumstances, two different perspectives. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But before we do that, Manny had going through all of this and changing this up, talking a lot about leadership, talking about changing your life, talking about being the best version of yourself. Manny was talking about, hey, Chris, we've heard this said, our whole lives. What's the meaning of life? What is life all about? So I thought I would give Manny a treat today. I hope you like this, Manny. So this is a story that's going to give you a snapshot of what life looks like. So you ready, Manny? Manny's ready. So here we go. So on the first day, God created a dog. And he went to the dog and he said, "Dog, I'm going to give you a 20-year lifespan. And your job during that 20 years is to sit at the front door and bark at everybody that comes by." And the dog looks at God and says, "Wow, that's a long time to be just doing nothing but barking." He said, "I tell you what," he said, "what if I give you back 10 years and I'll keep 10 years? My lifespan will be 10 years. And that sounds a little more reasonable." And God said, "Fine, we'll do that." So he takes back the 10 years. On the second day, God created a monkey. And he told the monkey, he said, "I'm going to give you a lifespan of 20 years. And he said, your job is to run around and do monkey tricks and make everybody laugh." And the monkey said, "Man, 20 years is a long time to be doing monkey tricks and making people laugh." He said, "I tell you what, why don't we do like the dog did? I'm going to give you back 10 years. I'll keep 10 and we'll be all good." And God said, "Fine." So on the third day, God created a cow. And God told the cow, "I'm going to give you a 60-year lifespan. And during that 60 years, you're going to toil in the hot sun. You're going to have calves and produce milk for the farmers. And it's just going to be kind of a mundane existence built around providing for the people around you." And the cow said, "Wow." He said, 60 years, that's a long time to be toiling in the hot sun, making milk, producing calves, doing those things. He said, "I tell you what," he said, "what if I give you back 40 and I'll keep 20? He said, "I think I can do that for 20 years. And God said, "Fine." So on the fourth day, God created humans. And God looked at the human and he said, "I'm going to give you a lifespan of 20 years. And he said, during that 20 years, you're going to live and laugh and play and marry, drink, eat, and just be happy for 20 years. And the human looked at God and said, "Wow, only 20 years. 20, that doesn't seem like very long." He said, I tell you what," he said, "what if you give me the 40 years that the cow gave you back and give me the 10 years that the monkey gave you back and the 10 years that the dog gave you back, and that'll be 80 years. That sounded really good to the human. And God looked at him and he said, "You asked for it." So when we look at life, this is what life looks like. For the first 20 years, we eat, drink, play, marry, and have fun. For the next 40 years, we toil in the sun and we provide for our families. And then for the next 10 years, we run and jump around and do monkey tricks for the grandchildren. And in the last 10 years, we sit on the front porch and we bark at everybody that comes by. So you're welcome, Manny, for that. So now you have life explained. That's it. So anyway, so I'm going to follow that up with a story. Let's get back to perspective. I'm going to tell you a story, and a lot of you are familiar with this story. It's the story of the Good Samaritan. And I'm going to see if we can tell this in a little different way. And we're going to look at 3 different perspectives in the story. So if you're not familiar with the story goes that a man was walking along the road, and he was overtaken by robbers, and they stripped him, and they beat him, and they left him for dead in the ditch along the road. Shortly after, a priest came by and saw the man, and he moved to the other side of the road and kept going, just passed on by. Not much longer, a Levite came by, saw the man, moved to the other side of the road and ignored him and kept going by. And then a Samaritan came by, and he had compassion on the man. He stopped. He tended to his wounds. He put him on the back of his donkey, and he took him to the local inn. He paid for the man to stay in the inn, and he told the innkeeper, he said, I'm going to leave, and when I come back, any other expenses that are incurred while he's here, I'll take care of those as well. A little backstory, if you know the history of that time period, Samaritans and Jews, the man who was robbed and beaten was a Jew. Samaritans and Jews did not get along. They did not like each other at all. So not only did the Samaritan have compassion on the man, but he also had compassion on a man that most Samaritans would not have had. So let's look at that for a minute. We're going to look at this from the perspective, 3 different perspectives. First, let's look at it from the perspective of the robber. The perspective of the robber says, what's yours is mine, and I'm going to take it. Now, most of us would say that we've kind of reached a point in life where, we're not like the robber. And I would say be careful, because you might have a little more robber in you than you think you do. See, we use the word selfish. We use words like selfish. We use words like self-centered. This robber mentality can be applied in many different ways. Here at Life Barbells and BS, we talk a lot about the fitness industry. Let's say that I work in an industry that sells nutritional supplements, for instance. My primary goal in business is to get what's yours, which is your money, out of your pocket and into my pocket. Okay? So already we're kind of leaning toward that area of what's yours. I want what's yours to become mine. Now, it's fine if I'm trading something of equal value. If I'm trading a supplement that is effective, that does what it says it's going to do, that when I tell you what it's going to do, I'm not misleading you, I'm not exaggerating, but you purchase a product, that product has value, you give me money in return. But what if I'm selling you a product that I know doesn't work? What if I'm selling you a product that I know you're not going to take this pill and it's not going to go into your body and start incinerating fat? What if I tell you that you can come into my clinic and I will give you a beach body in 1 day without exercise, without diet, without any of that stuff? I want your money, but I'm not giving you anything of value. And actually, I'm lying to you to get the money out of your pocket. So if you were thinking maybe there's no robber left in me, maybe you need to kind of self-evaluate if you're in those positions and say, maybe there's a little more robber in me than I thought. This word selfish. Let me stop. Let's go to we'll leave that one alone for a minute. But let's go to the perspective of the priest and the Levite. The perspective of the priest and the Levite says, what's mine is mine, and I'm keeping it. Okay? So they had the ability to help. They had the time, they had the resources, they had the same time and resources that the Samaritan had, but they said, my time is my time, my resources are my resources, and I'm going to keep those to myself. Then there's the perspective of the Samaritan. And the perspective of the Samaritan says, what's mine is yours, and you can have it. Now, there's one other perspective that's actually higher than that, and we'll get to that in a minute. But going back to this idea of selfishness, if you think, and really the perspective of the robber, you may disagree with me that we're born that way. But if you disagree, let's look at it from this perspective. Let's look at property law according to a toddler. Everybody's been around a toddler. Everybody's been around a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and they're in a room, maybe with a friend, and there's toys, and here's the property law according to a toddler. If it's in the room and I want it, it's mine. If I sat it down 5 minutes ago, it's mine. If you're playing with it and having fun with it, it's mine. If I want it, it's mine. If it's broken, it's yours. That's the property law according to a toddler. We were born with that mentality. Let's look at another scenario. Let's just say you're in a group of people. Let's say you're at a conference. Let's say you're at a seminar and a group of people, and you say, we want to take a group picture. And somebody takes the group picture, it's 15 of you, and somebody shows you the picture. Where do you look first? Who do you look at in the picture first? Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say you're selfish. This would fall more into the category of self-centered, because we all know that if somebody shows us a picture that they just took, we immediately only look at ourselves. And if that picture of us is good, we say, oh my gosh, send that to me. And I'm going to post it all over social media because I look great. Now, everybody else in the picture, they could be hacking up a lung with their eyes closed, and it doesn't matter. As long as I look good, then we're good to go. But if I don't look good or my eyes are closed, the first thing I do is say, retake the picture. So keep that in mind moving forward. Again, that doesn't mean you're selfish, but think in terms of how we look at things on a day-to-day basis, to where we focus more on ourselves than we do the people around us or the big picture around us. Let's go back to the Good Samaritan. And I'm going to give you a quote from Gandhi. And Gandhi said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Okay? The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Over the years, I've thought a lot about this because we're always wrestling with this idea of what's my purpose in life? What am I on this earth to do? We actually have a series, and it teaches people how to identify their God-given gifts and their talents, and what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what types of things would they be good at. But we wrestle with that. We wrestle with this idea of waking up every day and we're unfulfilled, and we focus on what we don't have instead of the blessings that we do have. And over the years, I've thought about this probably more than anything else. What's the key to joy? What's the key to happiness? What's the key to fulfillment? And, as many times as I've, different ideas, different perspectives, listening to different things, reading different books, it always really comes back to one thing. Have you ever seen an unhappy person who seems to be focused on the needs of others? Think about that for a minute. Think about the people that you've known in your past. Think about the people you know now. The people that wake up every day and they experience joy, they always seem happy. They're typically the most generous. They're typically the ones that will reach out and help the most. They're typically the ones that people know if I need something or if I'm in a jam or in a bind, I can always call them and they'll be there. They seem to have a different level of joy and fulfillment and peace than everybody else. So, going back to that quote, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I've said this so many times that if you'll focus on serving others, those gifts that are locked inside of you, you'll start to recognize what those gifts are, not only yourself, but the people that you're serving will also start to recognize those gifts. So let's look at this from there's an even higher perspective than the perspective of the Samaritan. So the Samaritan, the perspective says, what's mine is yours, you can have it. There's a higher perspective. What's mine is not mine. What's mine was given to me as a blessing, and it's my job to manage it. Think about that for a minute. We've all been blessed in different ways. But as soon as we take possession of these things, it's mine. It's, I made this money, I earned this money, it's mine. I have this gift that I've had my whole life, it's mine. I'm going to use that gift to further my agenda, to further my career, to achieve more success, whatever the case may be. It's mine, and I'm going to use that to grow myself. Then there's this idea that says, what I've been given is a gift. And if I don't view that as something that I possess, something that's mine, something that I own, I look at it as a gift, I'm much more free to give it away. One of the things I'm not going to do, and look, you can listen to this, and we'll have people listening to us that are of all different beliefs and all different faiths. I'm a Christian and have been my whole life. But these stories that I tell you, they're universal. They apply to every walk of life, no matter what your faith is. So we're not going to apologize for our faith, but at the same time, one of the things John Maxwell said one time, he said he sat in a room and he was sitting in a room full of mostly, we won't say atheists, but he said agnostic, people who said, I just, don't believe in anything. Don't believe in a higher power or whatever. And John challenged them. He said, I want to go around the room and I want you to give me an example of a leadership principle. And I guarantee you that I can take that principle and prove to you that it came from the Bible. And they scoffed and they said, no way. There's no way, because we heard this from here and we heard this and we read this book and we did these things. And one by one, he went around the room and all these leadership principles, and he immediately not only proved that it came from, he told them the story of where that principle originated from. So as we move forward, I really want you to start, I promise you, if you'll change your perspective, you can change your life immediately. But the perspective has to be, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to start this new week, and I'm going to focus on how can I serve others. Now, let me say something. I am not the guy that says you need to deny yourself, take up your cross, be poor, have no ambition, martyr yourself, don't start businesses, don't aspire to be wealthy. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with success. There's nothing wrong with wealth. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious and setting goals and going after your dreams. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if your primary focus in doing so is only about you, at some point you're going to hit a dead end. So what I'm saying is dream big, work hard, go after your goals, go after your dreams. But if you can wake up every morning and say, I'm going to look for opportunities around every corner to serve somebody else, to use my gifts to build somebody else up, to help somebody else develop, to add value to other people, then I promise you that those goals and dreams that you have are going to come a lot quicker and probably provide you more than you thought you ever would have. And there's plenty of people that have proven that theory. In our world, in personal training, we have conversations all day long. That's pretty much all we do. We train people, we take them through their exercise programs, but we have conversations every single day. We all have issues. We all have life problems. We all have obstacles and hurdles we're trying to overcome. We're trying to figure out how to figure this crazy thing called life out, and to establish some peace, and some equilibrium in our life so it's not so chaotic. And by and large, I found that the number one way to do that, and I'll quote John Maxwell again because he loves saying this. And it sounds kind of harsh until you really break it down and think about it. Get over yourself. If you can get over yourself, where everything's not about me, everything's not about what I can acquire. It's not about making more money, acquiring more cars, being a 40-year-old who's collecting my 400th pair of Jordans. It's about giving. It's about being compassionate. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this: the purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. I'm going to read that again because that's really, really good. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. We live in chaotic times. We live in frustrating times. We are bombarded every single day by negative news. And without going into detail, and I predicted this the day before it happened, I knew what was coming the next day. I knew there was an event taking place on Thursday night, and I had a conversation with a couple of people. And I said, make no mistake, every grown man that you know the next day on Friday will spend their entire day debating, mocking, criticizing, discussing, arguing over a conversation between two elderly men. It served no purpose. It served no purpose. It was intentional. Everything you consume on a daily basis is designed to distract you. It is designed to get you talking, having useless conversations. And I'm talking all day long. That's all I heard. There were no solutions. There were no solutions. There were no, here's a positive outcome. Here's what I would like to do to solve the problem. It was picking sides and criticizing and mocking and laughing and making off-color jokes and those kinds of things. Just think if we took all that time that we spent on useless conversations, all the time we spend scrolling through our phones, just consuming absolutely useless material, and use that time to serve others, to look around us. I say all the time, see a need, fill a need. There are needs all around us. To grow ourselves spiritually, physically, intellectually, emotionally. These ideas that I'm presenting, I told my wife today, they're becoming antiquated. It's almost like you're watching an animal become extinct. This idea of servant leadership. We wake up every day and our leadership is, and let's talk to the men for a second. I'm a man and I wake up and I watch videos of David Goggins saying, "You can't hurt me." I'm watching videos of another guy who says, "You wake up and be savage." I wake up every day and you see these, you're just bombarded with go out and be a warrior. Stop waiting for doors to open and kick them down yourself. So as men, we take on this persona, right? This persona that I'm this big, tough man. And so I'm going to go out and I'm going to create this persona for myself. And I'm going to buy the biggest truck I can possibly buy. I'm going to smoke the biggest cigar I can possibly smoke. I'm going to get as many guns as I can possibly have. I'm going to drink whiskey and bourbon and scotch. And I'm going to sit around and talk about how badass I am all day long. But make no mistake. And this is from somebody who has spent the last 35 years of their life training physically, training and teaching martial arts, and coming to the age of 56 and realizing that your muscles don't matter, that your martial arts training doesn't matter, that none of it matters. As a man, your ability to be steadfast in your faith, your ability to be emotionally stable for your family, your ability to serve others and be compassionate and think of others before you think of yourself, the ability to truly be able to protect your family if something hit the fan, because I guarantee you, most of you, at least the ones I know, if you take your gun away, if you take your gun away and your big truck away and your cigar away and your bourbon away and those kinds of things, and you're put in a position to protect your family, chances are you're out of breath in the first 10 seconds and you're laying in a ditch somewhere while your wife is fighting with her adrenaline and mama bear instincts to protect your kids. That sounds harsh. Those are the men I know. These are the men that pretend to be tough. These are the men that walk around looking like they still have the coat hanger in their shirt, right? Yes, I'm going to be hard on men, and we're going to address that more and more and more. Stop posing. Stop pretending to be something you're not. Figure out how you are, who you are. Figure out what you have to offer the world instead of trying to conform yourself to this image that social media tells you you're supposed to be. Social media tells you what a man looks like. The funny thing is, what a man looks like on social media is the opposite of what a man looks like, and let's just say it, in the Bible. That's not what a man looks like. Men, it's our job. We have reached a point where men are so emotionally fragile that we're the ones waking up every day, and our wives have to figure out what kind of mood we're in, or how they're going to support us that day, or how they're going to go out and pick up the slack for the man because he's depressed today. He's having an off day. He has the sniffles, so he doesn't want to go train and exercise today. Yes, I'm going to be hard on men because we need to step up. We need to step up and get back to the basics of being good Samaritans, getting back to the point where we're steadfast, where our families know that we're immovable, unshakable, that we can't be rattled by circumstances, that we see every circumstance as an opportunity. We don't see circumstances as closed doors. We have an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. We have a mindset of compassion and love for our fellow man. You know, the greatest of these is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. I think the problem is with most men is we don't love ourselves anymore. I think we've been so confused and so distracted by social media telling us who we're supposed to be that we've really forgotten who we are and who God tells us we're supposed to be. So I really want you to think about that. What's your perspective? What are you struggling with right now? What do you wake up in the morning? What are you struggling with? I promise you, if you'll wake up, look at the needs of the people around you, your eyes will start to open, your heart will start to open, those gifts that you have inside of you will start to be unlocked and identified, and that peace will start to come. Life will become much less chaotic. I promise you, change your perspective, change your life. Me and my wife have talked so many times about this, that we're going through the fire. We're going through this time in life. It seems like it is just the worst thing that could ever happen. It's painful. You don't think you're going to get through it. But fast forward a year down the road, and you always look back at that circumstance and go, that wasn't as bad as we thought it was. We're all going through some stuff. Times are unsure. Times are chaotic. But if we'll focus on each other, focus on loving one another, focus on being kind to one another, focus on having compassion, see a need, fill a need. And I'll close it with this. I want to read this quote one more time. The purpose in life is not to be happy. What that means is, it doesn't mean that it's bad to be happy, because we all want to be happy. We all want to be joyful. What that's really saying is, don't only focus on your happiness. So the purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful. How are you being useful on a daily basis? How are you adding value to the people around you? It's to be honorable. We've all had times in our lives that we were not honorable. We've all made mistakes. We've all screwed up. We all look back at our lives and go, man, I can't believe I was in that situation. I can't believe I hurt that person the way I did. I can't believe I made that mistake. The past is the past. So today we can make a decision to be more honorable. Today we can make a decision to be more compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. That's life. That's life. So with that said, we welcome your comments. We want to have a conversation with you. One of the big things we always say, leave a comment, leave a like, smash the like button. Smash the like button. Do all that stuff. I want to talk to people. I want you to reach out. Email me. Leave a comment. I'll give you my phone number. We'll talk. I want this to be more than a one-sided conversation where you're just watching me talk and maybe you take something from it, maybe you don't. I want to get to know more people. I want to help if I can. I want to have those hard conversations. I want to talk to the people that said, man, I'm at the end of my rope and I don't know what to do. I want to find myself. I want to know what I'm here for. What's my purpose? So reach out to me. I will make myself available, because that's what we're doing. But as we start this, well, actually, we won't be starting a new week. As you start, when you see the video, wake up tomorrow morning, look at the people around you, start with your family first. How have you been neglecting your wife? What are her needs that you haven't been meeting lately? Have you been spending enough time with your kids? Are you addressing their needs? Do they feel slighted? Do they feel left out? What about your coworkers? How many coworkers do you run across every single day that you could have just a 5-minute conversation and maybe make their day, make them smile, give them some kind of hope? We all have the ability to do that. If we can just, one person at a time, start focusing on that, it's like, you can't change the world. That whole idea that I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna change the world. Well, we may not be able to change the world, but you can certainly change your environment. You can change your family. You can change your workplace environment. You can. There's so many things you can change just by tweaking your behavior, changing that perspective to a perspective of service and compassion. So with that said, we're honored and blessed to be able to do what we do. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.